You are listening to the Love and Money Podcast with Shakira Brown. Please get my book on Amazon. It's called Hidden Criminals, and my intent is to make the world aware of the government gang stalking program. Also, please sign up to my website, professionalsocialize.com, where I hold periodic events. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Agostino Pintus. He is a multifamily investor, syndicator, and entrepreneur, and he is the host of the podcast Bulletproof Cashflow. Thank you for being on the show, Agostino.
I'm super happy to be here. I'm very, very excited. Thank you.
Agostino, how did you get into real estate? What's your story?
You know, I started about 16, 17 years ago. I was working as a C-level executive at some publicly traded company, and a friend of mine said, you know, I ought to consider looking at doing some real estate stuff, some single family, and he was investing in houses with this friend of mine. So I decided, you know, I'm going to look into that too. I started buying up single family homes, and I was doing like single family, small multifamily, and you know, the reason why I did it, even though I was a big time CIO working at this publicly traded company as a young guy, I knew that I was vulnerable. I knew that even though I was making six figures and, you know, had the fancy title, that at any given moment, anybody could come into my office and fire me, right?
Right.
And my thought process was, if I can build up this portfolio fast enough that I can protect myself and my family in case something like that happened. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it fast enough, right? It was just before the big bust out in 2007, 2008, and prices started climbing higher and higher. And because I've always been very careful with my underwriting, I noticed that people were buying stuff. People were buying even single family homes in Virginia at the time where I was living, and it just didn't make any financial sense. So I quit buying, and but I still built up a portfolio of real estate, and you know, I ended up hanging on to it throughout the entire recession. I did not lose a single property where friends and family were going bankrupt and they were losing it all. I kept everything just because of the way that I underwrote all my stuff, right? But it wasn't really until a few years ago that I was doing some networking, and a friend of mine told me, or I was asking him, actually, he's a real estate attorney, about multifamily. I was looking outside my window, and I see this building. It's, you know, maybe 20-something units. And I said to him, I go, who owns that property? Like, does a bank own it? Like, is there some big company or something? He goes, no, people syndicate it. And he explained deal syndication to me. And after he explained that, the light went off, and I'm like, that is what I need to be doing. I need to be going out and syndicating deals. And as soon as I learned that, as soon as I just went in and studied everything I could on deal syndication, on sales, on marketing, on all these different aspects. Now, as a CIO, as an executive, you kind of have most of these talents already. But you know, understanding syndication, that aspect of things was fairly new, so I had to learn that part. But you know, once I got the hang of it, it's been a whirlwind since then. It's just been phenomenal.
Okay, so you started with single family, and now you're in multifamily. Would you consider multifamily a better asset class, and if so, how?
Yes. Oh, you know, absolutely. And I'm not just saying it because, you know, it's something I feel or anything else like that. It's just because of what it actually is. Mm-hmm. You know, if you think about it for a second, a single family home, if you lose a vacancy in that single family home, or you lose an occupant rather, you have 100%, you're 100% vacant.
Right.
If I lose one person out of my 126 unit that I have here in Cleveland, I don't even notice it. You know, it doesn't impact anything, right? Banks love doing, that's reason number one. Reason number two, banks love doing those deals. Banks love doing these large deals to the point where the bigger the deal, the better the interest rate. On a small deal, even if you consider a small multifamily deal, a small multifamily deal might be in today's market anyway, 5.25%. I just did a large deal right now. I'm closing next week, and that one's going to be a 4.3% interest rate. Almost a full percent lower than what it would be for a smaller deal. And so conceivably, the smaller the deal, the higher the interest rate, right? Because they're higher risk. That's why. To me, the bigger deals are far lesser risk, and only because when you're dealing with these bigger deals, you're actually buying a business is what you're doing. It's actually an honest to goodness business. That's what you're managing. It's not a single family scenario anymore.
Okay, that's interesting. Agostino, tell me about your first syndication deal.
Wow. So it was actually funny because, I know we were talking in the green room a bit ago about taking action. And, even though I bought many deals over a long period of time, my first, quote, bigger deal, was interesting because, so I have a property manager, all right, and he'd been managing some smaller multifamily for me and some other smaller properties. And I happen to be on LoopNet. Now, I know LoopNet is a place where deals go to die. I'm aware of that, but oftentimes I'll just go to LoopNet just to see how the market's doing. And there was this deal on LoopNet. It was a 56-unit deal with a list price of $1.65 million. And Gary's picture is right there, my property manager. So I happened to be on the phone with Gary talking about one of my other properties, and I said, "Hey, Gary, listen, what's up with this property here? You have it listed. It's been out here for like 4 months now." And Gary responds, "It just fell out of contract like an hour ago." I'm like, "Well, what's the bottom line number on it?" $1.4 million. Send over the purchase agreement. I'm signing it right now. I literally signed the purchase agreement sight unseen. No LOI, no letter of intent, nothing like that. I signed a PSA. I locked it up immediately, right? And then I went to go see it. And then after that, right after I locked it up and made sure I had the PSA locked up, I started making phone calls. I started calling on friends and family. It took 2 phone calls. Two phone calls. The first person turned me down. The second person told them about the deal. They were in. We raised all the money in about 24 hours. We needed about $500,000 to finance the equity side. We lined up the debt side through a long-term relationship that we had, and that's it. I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy peasy, but you know what? It took some action, and believe me, for all the listeners out there, the second you sign up for a $1.5 million deal, you've never done it before, and you put down $15,000 of earnest money, you will find a way to close that deal.
Okay. So your first syndication was 56 units?
Yeah, 56 unit, yeah.
How many units was the first property that you ever bought? Was it the 56 units or was something else?
No. It was single-family homes. So, I went from single-family. I went from single families to duplexes, and then
the multifamily.
Yeah. So it went from single-family to duplexes, then immediately to a 12-unit. And then after the 12 units, started going up from there. So, and you find that as you start taking down larger deals, you want to start getting rid of the smaller ones. It requires, and I'm sure that other people on your show have told you this before, and I'm going to say the same thing again. It requires the same amount of energy to manage. Actually, it requires even more energy to manage a 22 unit or a 24 unit than it does to manage 122 units. The loan process is a huge pain in any case. If you're going to go through that pain, hell, make it worth your while. Go bigger, right? I think that the aspect that many people get hung up on is when you're talking about the big dollars. It's when you're talking $1, $2, $4, $10 million deal, people's eyes start glossing over because they're not used to talking about stuff like that, right? But I'm telling you, it's nowadays, if someone throws $1 million deal at me, it doesn't excite me anymore. Not because I'm so special, but only because I know that doing $1 million deal is more of a pain and a nuisance than it would be to do a $10 million deal. $10 million get me excited. $1 million won't.
Okay, that's interesting. Agostino, you mentioned that you called people to raise the capital. Can you explain how did you raise the capital for your first deal? Like, do you already have wealthy friends, or like how do you actually raise the capital?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I had done was I had actually connected with other syndicators already, right? So the syndicators that I connected with already had access to the money. They already did all the hard work. All I did was present the deal. I presented the deal in a way that made sense. So oftentimes, for many new people that are getting started in this business, it comes down to your ability to underwrite a deal for it to make sense, and then basically sell the deal to the syndicator. It's not just taking and throwing it over the wall and say, here, I found a deal. It's more like prepare a case as to why that deal makes sense, right? What I did was when I analyzed this deal, I was able to demonstrate that we're paying $21,000 a door, and the average rent was $600 a month. I mean, that's a steal, right? And just because of how I was able to negotiate it, and of course, having a friend on the inside, my property manager on the inside, helped the situation too. But when you're able to find a sweet deal, then I called my friend and I said, hey, listen, here's what I have. I have this deal. Here's the cost per door. Here's the average rent. Here's some of the upside. We're going to have to do these sorts of repairs to increase the rents by X. And here's some of the risks. There could be a risk of increased taxes. There could be, the city does these sorts of inspections or whatever. Make sure you lay everything all out. And, if the deal makes sense and it's a good deal, someone will step up. If the deal is terrible, no one's going to want to do it. But ultimately, if you go in and present quality deals with good quality underwriting all the time, a syndicator will listen. Otherwise, like if you just present garbage, and believe me, I get plenty of those, no one ever takes it seriously, right? So doing your homework and knowing what you're doing in this business is 100% key.
Okay. So do your homework and know what you're doing, and someone's going to step up.
100%.
Okay. Agostino, what does your portfolio look like?
Well, so like I mentioned, we have, I've GP'd on close to 700 units at this point, and GP by general partner. And, it's all multifamily. That's all I do, right? Mm-hmm. And all I focus on is multifamily. And it's key to delineate that, right? There's some people in my space that they'll do like offices, they will do land, they'll do industrial, they'll do self-storage. Nothing wrong with all that stuff. It's all good stuff. I love it all, right? But I decided that I was going to focus on one thing, and that one thing is multifamily, right? I know that business, and I know my market. I also specifically work the Ohio market at this point. The plan is that once we exceed about 1,500 units or get close to 1,500 units, we're going to pick a new market and go to the new market and just do the same thing, like one target market and know that market, lock it up and know everything you can about it. We'll keep buying in Ohio, of course, but focus. I cannot stress that enough. There's so many people that come out to my live events, for instance. We do a live event every other week, and totally free. People come out and they're all over the place. I do wholesale and I do flips and I do land and I do retail. And it's like, no, man, no. And that's but what happens is that 5 years from now, they're doing the same nonsense. And you know what, Shakira, I'll let you know a little secret. We're running out of time. We don't have all the time in the world. We have to focus. And you need to build this thing up as quickly as possible. There's numerous reasons why, aside from our own life cycles. there's other economic reasons why, but the Stoics are famous for saying that many young people live their lives like they have an unlimited amount of time, and we don't. So my thing that I often tell people on my mentoring program anyway is that they have to act quickly, diligently, and on purpose all the time. There is no time to waste.
This is the Love and Money Podcast. If you like this podcast, please share it with one other person. And please scroll down to the bottom of the podcast and leave a review.
Recorded.
Okay, Agostino, tell me about your mentoring program.
Sure. Our mentoring program is a little different than the typical mentoring program that's out there. The way that we do it is it's a one-on-one 6-week type of scenario. So what we'll do is we meet once a week for an hour each week, at least an hour. It usually runs over. I'm not that big of a stickler on time. And we have a whole curriculum that we discuss, everything from the psychology of how to raise money, right, from investors, through to underwriting deals, through to meeting some of the key people you need for your team, and even how to get the loan done. All this stuff is done one-on-one. In addition to that, we also look at least 4 deals, sometimes more, and these deals will consist of properties that I either currently own or will be looking at purchasing. We get in the car, we drive over, we walk the deal, they meet the brokers, they talk to the brokers one-on-one, they meet them, they get to see the good, bad, and the ugly, right? They get that real life experience of how to actually do a deal. Like they see it, they witness it. The biggest aspect of this whole business for many people, the reason why they don't know what to do, is because they don't have the team, right? The team is what's key. Now, I painstakingly had to build the team from scratch, and the good thing about our training program that no one else will do is that we will provide the mentee with an actual handout, so to speak, right? So it has your bio, for instance, your picture, your bio, you flip the page, then there's my picture and my bio, you flip the page again, and there's the entire team backing you up. So now, when you're calling a broker and you're saying to the broker, hi, I'm Shakira, I work with Agostino on this multifamily stuff. The broker typically knows who I am. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, you send over that document and it outlines everything about me. But that gives you instant credibility, right? Many new people, they just don't have that, So that's one of the biggest benefits that we give to our people, to our mentoring program. So aside from that, we also have another program that we recently released called the Multifamily Underwriting Group, and MUG for short. And in the MUG, what we do is we actually underwrite deals. We do a screen share. It's only limited to 7 people at a time. And we go in and we analyze an actual deal. I do it personally. I record the session, and people are free to ask questions about underwriting a certain deal and what are some of the good things, the bad things to consider. I mean, we'll even consider how much land there is. People look at, like the row houses, for instance, was one thing that we had talked about in a recent analysis. And I'm like, there was an aerial shot, and it's like, you look around, you see all these trees, and it looks beautiful and all that. Yeah, but those trees are going to have leaves, right? And you're going to have to pick all that stuff up. You're going to have to pay for additional labor to clean all that up at some point. People didn't think about stuff like that. You got to build down to your expenses, right? Things like that. Again, to help new people understand and take down the right deal, because if they do that, they screw that up, they can cost themselves and their investors a lot of money. So that's a 6-month program. And that one is, we meet 2 times a month for an hour each time, So it's an excellent program. People love it. It's just turned out to be a big success. They just love that program too. So those are a couple of things we have right now. But we're going to have more stuff coming out next year.
Okay, sounds good. And tell me about your podcast.
Sure. So on the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast, I specifically target multifamily, but we will also have other people on the podcast as well that have done everything from land to single-family homes, and we'll even talk about how to protect assets using various tax instruments. But we'll cover a variety of different things to help people keep building up their cash flow, with an emphasis around real estate. And it could be anything from finding the right vehicle for that person to build their business through to correcting their mindset, because ultimately it all comes down to that. It ultimately comes down to what you're programming your brain with every single day. If you're programming your mind and your brain with negative stuff, that's you take on the negativity, and that's what you become. So in Bulletproof, we often talk a lot about mindset, about correcting the mindset and making sure that we're trying to stay, keep it positive and really focus on building that strong cash flow.
Okay. And your ebook, what is your ebook about?
Sure. So we have there's a free ebook that we have out there, and if your listeners want to text the word freedom to 202-410-4202, and it is the Bulletproof Field Guide to Finding a Broker. Because ultimately, you know what? Many people, when they're first starting out, they have big problems with actually talking to a broker, right? Or getting even a broker to call them back, right? That's a huge problem. And if the broker won't call them back, it's going to be very difficult to get a deal, right? But
right.
There's numerous reasons why a broker won't call you, and this guide is really to help identify those reasons, and then also identify what you can do to increase your chances of a return phone call and help you build a credibility that you need with a broker. So, and again, that number is 202-410-4202.
Okay, Agostino, I'm going to sneak in 2 more last questions. 2 questions.
Sure.
Could you share one of your life lessons?
Oh, boy. One of the life lessons. When I'd gone through my 10 dark years, and that's a whole other podcast. And through those 10 dark years, it really involved getting mixed up with the wrong people and taking on a lot of that negativity stuff that I mentioned a second ago, that really transformed my life in a bad way. And when I decided that I was going to make a positive difference in my life, I made lifelong continuous learning a foundation to eventually become to the success that I have today. And it was really studying the wealthy that helped me realize that. Like, the average CEO reads 52 books a year. So every week they're reading a new book. Now, I'm not talking any fiction garbage. I'm talking like nonfiction, applicable information that they can use to build their business, right? And it could be in everything from sales, psychology to, it could be anything like that, really. And now, I'm listening to at least a book a week, at least. And, that one thing I would say has contributed to my success. If I hadn't done that, I don't even know where I'd be right now, honestly. I have no idea. That's been a positive transformation for me. And I would implore that anyone and everyone do the same thing. Make reading good quality books a foundation to your success.
Okay. Your advice is to read.
Read or listen. You don't have to, because you know what? Some people don't like reading. I can listen faster than I can read. That's my gift. I can listen and absorb things quicker. You know, that I can. It doesn't, as long as the data is entering your brain somehow, and it's good information, and you're able to absorb it and regurgitate it. That is, and you're able to use it. That's success. You know, so, you know, that's all I'm saying. Read, 100%.
Okay. And last question, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, you know, it varies from time to time, and I have several, but, you know, the 10X Rule, Grant Cardone, that book helped transform my life is the thought of thinking big. You know, and if you just passively listen to it, it's not really going to do anything. But if you take it and really put it into your psyche, that is probably one of the books that really helped get me on the path of thinking so big and so massive to get into these bigger and bigger deals. That book was transformational in that regard. That one's probably the one that comes to mind immediately.
Interesting. Okay, and where can people find you?
No, bulletproofcashflow.com. If they go there, I'm all over Facebook as well. Bulletproof Cashflow, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. Friend me on Facebook. I can always use more friends. I love talking to people and friending people who reach out. Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for being on the show and sharing your story.
That is awesome. It was awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that was Agostino Pintus. Go ahead and reach out to him at bulletproofcashflow.com. He offers a lot: mentorship, host of the podcast Bulletproof Cashflow, multifamily investor, syndicator, and entrepreneur. This is a Love and Money podcast. Thank you for listening.